to the Prophecy Club. I am going to give a message, really the message given to Coverstone over many of his different dreams. There's like 30 pages at 11-point type of his dreams. Part of this that I'm going to cover is from memory because it just takes too much time to look up every little phrase. Besides that, it's not really needed to make the point I'm trying to make. So here's the point. Essentially, all of the Coverstone dreams are saying this, that the American church was warned to pray. The church did pray some and averted some of the destruction. But many, if not most, stopped praying. Many good prophecies stopped as our prayers stopped. Now our liberties, given by the Constitution, are gone. Our republic is gone. God is now in charge. Truly, now we are one nation under God. Our nation is guilty of much sin, and now comes the judgment, and judgment will bring great revival. So let's start with January 2019. As you recall, Coverstone received a dream showing sick people, ambulance flying down the street, and people wearing masks. Then in March, the V hit, and it began to come true. June, he was shown capitals, schools, and businesses closed. These pictures he saw were intended to warn the church, to scare the church, to wake her to pray, or these bad things would come. He was shown the Oval Office and the White House, and the curtains were pulled. No one was seated at the resolute desk. While the news shows images of JB in the White House today, several sources say they're only being filmed in a studio. Coverstone was definitely hearing from God, in my opinion. Those with a qualifying test that believe, well, if it is God, then it has to come to pass, have made a major mistake. These were intended to get the church to fast and pray and to turn them away. Many did fast, did pray, but based upon some of the future dreams not coming to pass, some of the good stuff, we stopped praying. I saw Chinese and Russian soldiers on the ground. Russian soldiers were telling the Chinese soldiers to go and pick people up, round these people, secure this quadrant, secure this area. I saw blue helmets of the UN. I saw military things taking place. I saw no sign of President Trump. This is another warning that we must pray away, and I believe so far, I said so far, that has been prayed away. Then in June, he said, I saw a dream calling for the church to pray and have solemn assemblies in September. A solemn September assembly, a clear call to pray during the month of September. So this particular ministry had a solemn assembly in both September and October. Arise, my bride, and prepare to pray. Arise, my bride, and prepare to battle. And we did battle. Then July, he said, I saw smoke rising from outdoor funeral pyres. In other words, lots of people, thousands, maybe millions of people dead. So many people dead, they had to burn them in a big stack of wood. Headlines declaring nationwide suicide spike. I saw angry people demanding that government fix the problems, the suicides, financial losses, forced evictions, job loss, depression spikes, drug overdoses, and rampant increases in abuse, emotional, sexual, and physical in the light of the continued COVID-19 lockdowns. That didn't exactly come to pass. I saw the post office only open a few days a week, large fields with the smaller postal trucks that were parked for non-use. Again, I think we prayed that away too. That's a good thing. Then in August, I saw a $100 bill like a flag hanging, burning. The dollar had lost its value to about 1/3. Many were celebrating, others were devastated. I heard someone playing taps in the background. No, this did not happen, but again, that's a good thing. I saw clowns, oh, this did happen, pouring buckets of grease and oil on the ground in front of the election venues. They were juggling things. People trying to vote were slipping and sliding right past the voting doors. They were juggling. They were doing everything possible to keep people from voting. They were trying to distract them from voting. And we saw that with all the cheating going on, okay? Then I saw this big billboard saying, Passover 2021. Big things are coming for the world. Big things are coming for the world. And I believe that that's probably talking about the great end-time revival, the mass miracles and things like that beginning. Then the white figure appeared again and said, Do not stop bracing, for the storm will not pass until I stop the storm. So brace yourselves and don't look back. Part of that came to pass, the cheating in the election. Part of it has not come yet. I saw a finger appear and circle November 3rd, continuously in a clockwise direction. Suddenly it changed to a counterclockwise direction. I believe that's November. That's the change between one nation under the Constitution and one nation under God. It's the change between America being under the Constitution to being underneath God. It's a change from us being a republic to not being a republic. It's the change of the all capital United States of America being dissolved. There were cities on fire and headlines everywhere that read, "Trump's victory challenged." Now, that's probably the biggest thing that's gained more attacks and criticism than anything. I think God was saying it could have been. If the church had continued to fast and pray, it could have been. We did everything we could do, but apparently there were a lot of people that didn't fast and pray enough. Skipping down, she dropped the knife, stepped into the trap, and the president ran off quickly. I want to believe that trap is still out there. And I want to believe that the best times still come. However, it's getting late in the day. I saw the church. There was a separation line with no middle ground left as sides had to be taken. There were fire on the altars in the churches around the nation. Fire moved on the heads of people who had been praying, above the heads of many people in the church. I saw an actual question mark symbol above their heads. They appeared confused. In other words, it's saying that fire came upon many people in the church, and a big question mark came upon others. I was driving down the road in my wife's car. I would not listen to this kind of... Anyway, it said, more positive and encouraging music, so much so, we're going to try to make you forget about the snow. And I thought, yep, and that's the problem. Because everybody, the pastors, all the radio and TV, they're all the Christian stuff, they're trying to make people positive and encouraged. Well, that's okay as long as things are positive and going real well. But what do you do when things are falling apart? Now all of those folks that have been positive and encouraged all of their life are not prepared for the hard times. They appeared very confused by what they were seeing in the world and the church, and I heard a voice say, "Those who refuse to get ready will be wanting in the end. So brace yourself, and tell others that I have warned them to brace themselves, for they are about to see even more shocking things." Now let's go to August, but he's talking about January. I saw long food lines, people standing in lines, not in cars throughout the nation. Ships and ports on the east and the west coast, setting idle, nothing moving at sea, nothing at all. I saw a headline that said, "Baltic Dry Index is dead." They said nothing is moving in trade around the entire world. Shopping malls converted into shelters. People looking at their curtains. Dark gray snow-like stuff on the road. Headlines saying nationwide outages plague the Southwest. Okay, now hang on. Part of that did not come to pass, thank you, Lord. Part of it has. As I just told you, a lot of Texas, for the last 2 days, about 48 hours in there, the electricity was 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off, 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off. And yes, it caused some problems for us, but we were still pretty prepared, so not too bad. Another headline said, "Americans don't know who to blame for the darkness." Boy, that's true, isn't it? Who do we blame? Well, we had Governor Abbott come on of Texas, and he said it's due to about 10% of our electricity being made by these wind farms, and the wind farms are about 50% cut down, so we lost a lot of electricity. So it shows that we do need our fossil fuels, which are actually incorrect. He should say just crude oil, because crude oil does not come from fossil fuels, but that's for another day. Let's keep going. I saw the St. Louis Arch. I saw people wearing very expensive business suits and expensive watches with large briefcases that reminded me of nuclear suitcases. That has not happened. So the point being so far is some of the things the church was able to pray away. Some of the things we have not been able to pray away. Now let's go to September. The bucket began to move as if fire was underneath, and the blood was bubbling and smoking, then poured out a waterfall since it was so high up in the tree. As it poured it out, it began to spell the words, "Guilty as charged." That partially did not happen, but it's saying that America is guilty and is deserving of the judgment we are in the process of getting. Then the Christ-type man said, I will brace you against the demons. Just believe and do not fear them. This has not happened. This is good. Then I saw a shimmering of the Great Lakes, and the water appeared to go out of the bowl and spread onto the shores several hundred feet inland, then crashed back into the lakes. Now, compared to what Prophet Ephraim Rodriguez saw, a meteor hitting, and basically the East Coast, the West Coast gone, and a split upside the center of America, that's still a lot bit better. But even that has not come to pass. So a lot of our prayers have been answered, but a lot of people have stopped praying. Let's go on. I saw the Rocky Mountains trembling on the coast of California, shaken, and some of the shimmering type of surface disturbance, as if I was seeing it standing from the top of the Rocky Mountains. The clouds were also turning red, and ashen opened up to reveal Mount Rushmore. On the top of the mountain, I saw the face of George Washington speak from the mountain and say, "Hold the fort, toe the line, and fight." Clouds covered Mount Rushmore monument again, and the sun came out, and it started to rain. Then I saw the cross-top man walking along the National Mall, spread his arms wide, and said, "Now it's up to you, church." Meaning, church, you have not fasted and prayed enough. Now, yes, I know we did, but we're nowhere near the millions that should have been fasting and praying to get this prayed away. That's the point. October, the line went directly beneath the Liberty Bell, and it cut it entirely in half. The building cracked in half. Issues of huge smoke billowed out, spelling the word discovery. There were people running at this point, but not from the explosion, but from the word in the sky. Now, this is October, and it's talking about there's going to be a discovery. Well, what was the discovery? I'll tell you in advance. The discovery was the cheating in our election. The November election was discovered to be cheating. Cheating was discovered. I saw the man that I'd seen in the previous dream standing the place where the president gives the State of the Union address. He tapped the microphone 3 times and stated in a loud voice, "A house divided against itself shall not stand." And the emphasis was on the word shall. He then pushed the microphone down, walked to the rear of the room, flipped off the lights, and closed the door. November. I saw a bunch of people holding a wall pushed back. They were supporting it. Behind the wall was a large amount of water. I saw hundreds of thousands of people holding the wall, pushing it back. In other words, this is representing the church praying that is trying to hold the evil back. Then some of them would answer their cell phones when they would ring and they got distracted. This is a dream explaining why we did not get all of the good things that we could have got, why we didn't pray some of the bad things away. In other words, some of them did pray, but they got distracted. Many people pulled away from praying. That's what it's saying. One person stepped away from the wall and answered his phone and starts talking and forgot to pray. He got involved in the conversation, walked off. Another person said, "I've got something I must do, guys," and got busy and stopped praying. Others announced they had to go. Little by little, people were walking away from the wall. Every time someone walked away from a wall, there was a gap in the wall, and the wall begins to push back the people. Fewer people holding the wall made all the others have to rebrace themselves and push harder because fewer people were holding the wall back. In other words, the church stopped praying. This is an overview of what's really happened. Now let's jump to the more complicated one of them, and one of the most important ones. Lincoln was hung by Uncle Sam. This is what it's saying. Our liberties afforded by the Constitution were removed by a hidden small group of evil people who hate America. Mr. Lincoln, you have been found guilty by those in power and are sentenced to death by hanging for it. Uncle Sam stated clearly and precisely, I'm skipping a whole bunch of it, with great struggle, we do not recognize the law of man or of God and simply find you worthy of death. Your time is over, and a new dawn awaits for those who will dwell on this earth. Meaning, Constitution, Republic, gone. He then walked over to Uncle Sam, closed his eyes tenderly, and tapped the heart area 3 times and said, "Rest in peace, Uncle Sam. Sorry you had to see the ship go down." Meaning, America just sunk. Well, what Dmitri was told. The fall of America would start with an internal revolution, and that started November 3rd. Started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. That happened January 6th, and it's going to increase, I think. Then the man looked right at me in the dream and said, "Nation, specifically nation, brace yourself for fire and ice And don't forget to anchor your soul. Well, what have we got in the last week to 10 days? We've definitely got ice, but what about the fire? So what's the fire coming? Well, I want to believe it's just forest fires. I don't want to believe it's some kind of nuclear. The pressure God put upon the earth will turn coal into diamonds, this particular dream said. Franklin said, I guess we're no longer a republic. Then the Father spoke and said, no, it's mine now. No, it's mine now, as is the whole earth. Meaning, our Constitution, our republic is gone, so now we are in the hands of God. That's good and that's bad. That's bad because judgment is about to bring a lot of good. That's good because the judgment brings the revival and the miracles. January, Coverstone said, we passed the street sign that said Wall Street. The man pushed with both hands on the building and began to shake it back and forth. I saw office furniture, people, files, folders, several kinds of currency, coins, precious metals, all things of value floating down. As they hit the ground, the wind swept them away, meaning a lot of America's wealth is about to be swept away. The man took me to the Capitol building. The Capitol twisted, began to rock back and forth. Soon people were falling out of the windows and doors. Documents, desk name, plates, all landing on their knees hard. The man walked up to the church, placed both hands on the church, lifted it into the air, and said, I warned them. Then shook the church more aggressively and violently than he had shaken the Capitol or Wall Street. Meaning, there's about to be a financial difficulty. There's about to be, or maybe we should say, we're in a capital difficulty. And the church is about to get a shaking worse than Wall Street and the Capitol. Some of the people leaving, now listen to this, walked out and denied Christ. I'll never deny Christ. Well, it might not be so easy. Might not be so easy to stay with Christ. Some of the people leaving walked out and denied Christ, saying, I never knew him. They were embarrassed for being part of the church. They had been shaken. They were walking away. I saw pews turned over, broken in half. Wood split, lights hanging from damaged ceiling, electrical wire hanging out. The entire church had been shaken from its foundation. Now, not all of that has happened yet. That's a sign we need to keep praying. Then the man walked in, looked around assessing all that he saw, and said, You took warning, and you were good to do so. Your obedience has been noted, and there will be fruit both here and in heaven. Though shaken and broken, you will arise, my bride, and work until I come. In another dream, he said, I saw a nursery with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of babies. The Lord was saying that there is about to be many saved, babes in Christ. A lot of fruit is coming. A great harvest is about to arrive. They were changing diapers, feeding them, rocking them, trying to quiet and comfort the infants. There were thousands of day-old babies, new converts into the faith. In other words, the judgment is about to bring a great harvest, my brothers and sisters. Now, let me go through the summary, and then I want to get to the point here. So the American church was warned to pray, did pray, and averted some of the destruction. Many, if not most, stopped praying. Many good prophecies stopped as our prayers stopped. Now our liberties given by the Constitution are gone. Our republic is gone. God is now in charge. We are truly now one nation under God, not one nation under the Constitution. Our nation is guilty of much sin. Now the judgment comes, but the judgment brings great revival. And that's good. Now, let's go to another one I think is so very important. This is actually the third time I've covered it. I'm not going to read every word of it. I'm just going to get to the point. This is February. This is one of his most recent dreams. He said, I saw a sign on the wall in the White House that said, business as usual is over for everyone. I know that's hard to get in our heart. I mean, what? You mean the Constitution is gone? You mean the United States of America Corporation is gone? You mean a republic is gone? I mean, it's like, come on, everything seems like it sort of, well, not exactly, but sort of, but in other words, it really has changed. I saw a bunker below the White House. Seated at the table were 16 men dressed in military uniforms and dark suits. In front of them were folders which had top secret. Now, this is the point of the broadcast. we're going to try to talk about the American solution. Those three words. I say all of that to say this. What is the American solution? What is the American solution? Let's go on. One of the men stood and acknowledged each man while saluting each one individually. Then he said, "Today we leap off the mountain and fly towards a new beginning. Many, though not us, will hit the precipice moments later, but we will not. We will not even have to look back or look down, as we have better places to go." All of the men nodded, hit the table hard with their fists. "Gentlemen, please report," said the man. A man in the suit and glasses stood up and said, "This is the second point I want to get to. 3 events are planned for America, but if the first one hits hard enough, the other 2 will not be needed. Listen to this, the third thing we've got to pay attention to. Our target groups will be easily identified in the events. Our target groups will be easily identified in the events, and the rest of America will demand their arrests and imprisonments immediately, perhaps their execution." Then another man said, "Hoover will be proud, sir, and our list is pristine and better than his ever was." Well, Hoover was famous for having a list of roundups, of subversive, of people that needed to be, replaced. 4 soldiers saluted the empty desk and started shooting up the Oval Office with handguns. I saw the entire White House occupied by military on concertina wires surrounded the building. Well, that's where we are today. Then the man I see so often stepped out of the Rose Garden and said, "Bracing will save many." Listen carefully, we've got to talk about this. "Bracing will save many, but will also speak to many. They will hunt you, and when you stand before the haters, I will prompt your words to convict their hearts. It has started." I'll say it again. It has started. What's that mean? It has started, and darkness is in the winds, so brace and speak and do not stop speaking. Essentially, what it's saying is our great victory that we should have prayed for and should have received has evaporated. Our Constitution, our republic, our blessings, our freedoms, gone. Now business as usual is over. Now let me come to the point of the broadcast. What is the American solution? We know Hitler had a final solution, and that was to get rid of all of the Jews. So can we assume that the final American solution is get rid of all the Christians? 3 events are planned, but if the first one hits hard enough, the other 2 will not be needed. There's a roundup list, pristine and better than Hoover's. They will hunt you, and when you stand, it didn't say if, they will hunt you, and when you stand before the haters, I will prompt your words to convict their hearts. What's that saying? There's an American solution. There is a plan. I don't know what it is. I've been praying, asking God to tell me the plan. I don't exactly know what the plan is, and probably you don't either, but I do have something I want to share with you. Headline: The government is going to start treating domestic extremists the same as ISIS or Al-Qaeda terrorists. February 16, 2021. Many Americans were perfectly fine with Islamic terrorists being shipped off into Guantanamo Bay, where they would be endlessly waterboarded and tortured in countless other ways. But now members of Congress are talking about applying the same penalties to domestic extremists here in the United States. Does that mean that the American citizens will soon be grabbed off the streets and sent to prison camps indefinitely without trial? Some of our politicians are proposing to fight domestic extremism over the line. Okay, well, what are we hearing? Look, if our Constitution is gone, our freedoms are gone. Right to remain silent, right to an attorney, right to a phone call, all those rights, poof, gone. You know what that means? That means if they want to come and get us, there's no Constitution. So look, what are we going to do? Well, the Constitution say, well, Constitution of who? Well, Constitution of the United States of America. There is no United States of America. If the Constitution was still in force, then the Supreme Court would have heard those 2 resolutions concerning this Texas versus the other states and concerning whether those 6 states had violated their own state legislators. Okay, we're not under the Constitution. That's the reason the states kept saying, well, you don't have standing. They said this to Trump, you don't have standing. Trump would say, the President of the United States does not have standing. Nope, he doesn't, because we're not under the United States of America anymore. Now let's go on. The Department of Homeland Security last October came to the conclusion that U.S.-based extremists are now, quote, the primary terrorist threat inside the United States. The primary terrorist threat inside the United States will stem from those lone offenders and small cells of individuals, said the State Department's first Homeland Threat Assessment. Some U.S.-based violent extremists have capitalized on increased social and political tensions of 2020, which will drive an elevated threat environment at least through early 2021. If DHS officials had been referring to the groups that have been long rioting, looting, burning our cities for the 12 months, that assessment would make a lot of sense. But, of course, that is not what they're referring to. You see, we witnessed what happened on January 6th, glass breaking, U.S. Capitol. Democrats in Congress have been insisting that domestic terrorism has eclipsed the threat of foreign actors such as Islamists. You know what they're preparing to do? You know what they're preparing to do, my brothers and sisters? You do, don't you? And they overcame by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. And they overcame by the blood of the Lamb means, first, we accept Jesus. We accept him into our heart to be our God. And if we've not done that, then Satan is already our God. They overcame by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony. In other words, if someone says, so when did you get saved? Tell me the story. If you don't have an answer to that, one specific incident, then you do not have a testimony of how Jesus has implemented himself into your life someplace. Third, and they love not their lives unto the death. Now, that does not mean we have to die for Christ, but it does mean we're willing to. Means that once we see the beast, hear the beast, and we do not accept the beast, his image, his mark, or the number of his name, if we do not do one of those four things, then we will be an overcomer, and there's 8 blessings to being an overcomer. My point today is, what is the American solution? What is the American solution? They have a plan. They have a plan, and that plan is to eliminate Christians, first in America, then from around the world. What is the American solution? What is the American solution? What is the American solution? Imagine a friend emailing you all excited, telling you that they're at the Sevenfold Miracle Crusade and people are being turned away by fire marshal orders because so many people are coming from miles around. People hungry to receive the Lord, arriving saying, God told them the address in a dream. Another just impressed to drive to this spot. Revival has arrived. Would you desire to be at this kind of meeting? Then go to sevenfoldmiraclecrusades.com and get signed up to be there. Sevenfoldmiraclecrusades.com, March 27 to 30. Sevenfoldmiraclecrusades.com. Sevenfoldmiraclecrusades.com. Heaven's Harvest has more food in stock. That's right, freeze-dried, the coveted freeze-dried food in stock at heavensharvest.com. And if you put the promo code in STAN, it helps your Prophecy Club, and it also gets you a packet of heirloom seeds free. heavensharvest.com, promo code STAN, S-T-A-N, heavensharvest.com, STAN. CornerstoneAssetMetals.com is owned by a prophecy student who reads his King James Bible and supports Prophecy Club. Call CornerstoneAssetMetals.com for gold, silver, palladium, rhodium bars, or coins. They can help you roll over your IRA, 401k, so tell CornerstoneAssetMetals.com Prophecy Club sent you. Here's the best deal we've ever offered at the Prophecy Club. 5 How Pre-Trib 1, 5 Tribulation Secrets in Daniel, 5 God's Warning to America, 5 Secret Door to Understand Bible Prophecy, and 10 Miss the Mark, 40 books, gift of $100, prophecyclub.com, prophecyclub.com. As you know, I make many broadcasts referring to a list of dreams, visions, audible voices I believe are from God, given to Dimitri Duduman, Michael Boldea, Leslie Johnson, Henry Gruber, Shane Warren, Terry Bennett, Maurice Sklar, Augusto Perez, Doug Metzger, Bree Keaton, and more. Now you can have your very own copy. It's called God's Warnings to America. We offer them in shrink-wrap sets of 5. 1 for $20, but don't do that. 5 for $35 or 10 for $60 at prophecyclub.com.